Alright, this is for Android game synSpace Drone Runners for version 0.10 pre-release. And here are just some random feature changes. Impressive title graphic by Tom Zhao. You're in a shell ship. You can zoom in on it to see it. You can design your own little shape, which are unique to this level of the game, which is called grid space. You're on this sort of flat slice of space, and you have the usual sort of pew-pew weaponry, and these things called power-ups, power-up pyramids, that when you pick one up, you get something. And there are certain objects floating around in grid space, and we'll just let this guy spiral in. So the guy will let him be the blue player. So he shows up over here. We can get some information about him. That's what his ship looks like. We've entered the atmosphere of a planet. Version 10 supports the ability to have these sort of response buttons, so you can now implement sort of a conversation tree inside of a radio dialogue. Here I'm using it just to let you skip things that you've seen before. I'm not actually in orbit. I'm just at a sort of a high altitude, and I'm above the clouds looking down on a planet. There's now these cities you can see below. Try and get over a city. Look straight down. Let's launch a shadow drone. So when I push one of these buttons, it actually fires whatever is in that slot. So this is called a shadow drone. And basically it's a bomb that falls to Earth directly below you. But it doesn't explode. Actually, it kind of does explode. I gotta fix that. It's not intended to cause any damage. But it moves your camera basically to looking at your shadow, which is always directly below you. Now if I steer my ship, which is still way up in the sky, let's see if I can go in this direction and walk towards town. So again, I'm flying my ship in that direction. My ship's fairly fast, so I have to be light on the control here. And because of the way I've got the camera set, I need to sort of turn to face the direction I want to go and then drag this thing straight up. Oh, there's the hive. Now our goal today is to win the heart of this hive. And it's just coming up on sunrise, so maybe we want to just sort of stare at it for a while. Again, we're still using the camera, the shadow drone. We're still safely up in the sky. These buildings and things can in theory, be shooting at us. And you see the critters are increasing because the hive is constantly printing new critters as fast as local resources allow it to do. And as the hive evolves, some hives develop these cities, these towns, that actually provide services to the hive. If your quest needs something like an inn or a shop, it would probably be in one of these. So what we're going to do today is we're going to try to capture the heart of this hive. And the secret weapon we've got is that the hives are addicted to spice. And apologies for stealing the word, but it's a good word. I have a spice bomb here. So if you just hold the button, it's supposed to tell you what that button does. You know, the camera light's been blinking this whole time. That's because we're not looking at the normal camera. We're looking at the shadow drone camera. So if it's blinking and you tap it, it returns it to the normal camera, which is up here in space. So again, that's us, and that's our gravity damper field. We can just do it from up here because we're so precisely positioned now. But I will launch the spice bomb. And it's now falling, and the camera has, for cinematic purposes, we're traveling along with the spice bomb as it falls to the ground below. And once it falls, it does cause a little damage, more than I expected. Oh, it's already happened. The roof lines have changed to red, which is my color. So all the spice that I've hurled out has won the heart of all the critters and hives in this region. Oh, there it is. It's weird. So this hive now belongs to me, and it has my picture on it now. It's my color. This is me. I'm that guy. I'm the red player, which I am now referring to as the Red Path, and it's an homage to my game Warpath. In that game, players race to win the love of planets, and there's like 100 planets, and you have like 4 players, and they get as many as they can within a certain period of time and without running out of spaceships. So in my case, you earn the love of hives, and that all gets boiled down into basically a score, because I've come to the decision that points are something you earn in an adventure of finite duration, and you start with 0 points and you get a bunch of points and the high point winner wins, and that's the end of that match. But the greater synSpace game, I have this persistence of inventory, for one thing. And I want that to continue all the time, and it's not really a pointy thing. It's more of a possession thing and a level thing and a skill thing, kind of RPG-ish. Character develops over time. In that kind of sandboxy free play world, you just interact with whatever creatures or players you run into, and you do with them whatever game functions the game supports, and that includes, pounding on each other. I'm a prospector, and I'm been sent to this planet, this Goldilocks planet, to try and exploit it for, someone, trying to make it profitable for someone. And they've given me one or more of these claim bombs. And it's not really me making them, it's my little personal autonomous nanofactory here, Pan. He also works as a button to open and close the inventory screen. He pops his head through now and then and tells us things. Generally speaking, if we pick up some loot, he tells us what the loot was. So it's a rack of shadow drones that's in my inventory, but to use it, I have to equip it onto my critter. So I now equip it. So the idea is that I would have debited my inventory and maybe have no racks left in inventory, but they're all mounted on my ship. So I can launch, at this point, 68 more shadow drones. The inventory is divided into levels. Generally speaking, the level 1 are raw resources that you generally get by walking around and picking things up off the ground. And maybe you have to blow something up first before the thing is lying on the ground. All just is a big list of everything defined. And if you keep tapping the all, it switches between all defined items, all items owned by you, all items being made. So then level 1 is basic resources. Level 2 is making, ingots. That's how I'm using it in this particular star map. There's a lot of vehicle items, not actually as many as are shown here. I mean, these all exist, but they're not all cool simulations. I spent the most time on the sailboat and the Cessna overcoat and maybe the battle tank. There's just, big plans, right? So when your gravity dampers are on, you have this new control here, over here. And right now we're in orb, which means it wants to take us back up into orbit. But what we want to do is we want to go down. So we're going to go tap, tap, tap. And now we're headed down to ground, okay? So it doesn't completely turn the gravity damper off because it monitors our velocity and it keeps us from ever going very, very fast. But it's like an elevator button, basically. We've just said we want to go down. And at any time, we can change our mind. If we put it back to air, then we float. We neither go up nor down. Actually, to be clear, we hover. And if we put it on C, then we fall until we hit water, and then we float on the water. And if we hit ground, we continue going until we hit dirt. Now, I'm going to get rid of time of day here. This is a tweak. This is tweak number 112. You start with a slash, then the tweak number, then an equal sign, and then the value. Tweak 112 equals 1. freezes time. The day is no longer elapsing. Tweak 111 equals 9 sets the time to 9 a.m. Send. So it's now permanently 9 a.m. The script can choose to send those those tweaks, whenever it feels like it. So let's pick a target, like, say, this city here. And we'll head towards it and keep our eye on this little map here. And when we feel like we're kind of over it, we realize, okay, it's probably that little circle right there. So now we nudge ourselves along. Now at this point, if it were an enemy hive, it would be definitely trying to shoot us out of the sky. But we're just going to launch our spice bomb and watch the spice bomb camera as it falls. Now, again, the camera blinking tells us that this is a special camera that we can get rid of, so we can turn it off at any time. We've got 2 hives now, so if I go and look at my points, we can see that I now have 2. So what happens is the spice bomb actually sends spice in all directions, these little yellow, well, spice colored. This is like the bomb damage assessment report. Let's send down a shadow drone. And I need a little launch message. Shadow drone away. Oh, darn. I blew up the building with the shadow drone. Oh, my. I said that they were unintentionally causing damage, but wow, I didn't know that much. They have hit points and they take damage, and when the hit points hit 0, then they start to be blown up. And right now that's an animation that they flatten. And then they become this burning debris pile. Oh, this convincing animation. Oh wow, there's a hillside right there. The debris pile's under the ground. So when your gravity dampers are on, you can't be hurt. So you hit the ground really hard, it doesn't really matter. Let's turn off our gravity dampers. We've had them on all this time. The idea is I can't interact with things directly. I'm going to drop bombs on them, but I can't touch them per se. So I have to turn the gravity dampers off for that. So for that, I hold the stop button for a couple of seconds. And it clearly thinks this is a big deal. So that's a doom cube. Oh, he's going to chat at us for a moment here. That's our first landing on the planet, and there's a quest that is triggered by that. So we haven't taken this town over yet. Let's try a couple of things. First of all, I have this thing called a spice pistol, which I haven't actually tested much yet. So spice pistol ammo. So I equip a bunch of those. Notice I don't have the plans and I don't own any, but I can equip as many as I want. So that's this guy. So I'll select it. It's a current weapon, so it's fired by hitting the trigger. So you select the weapon and then you fire the trigger. So these critters, they're not the same color as me. They're not following my path. That's the rule on this map. Let's go over to this guy over here. That's what I was going to show you, isn't it? That's what the inside of the Doom Cube looks like. This is the bottom floor of the Doom Cube. This is sort of a maze. That's part of a bigger conversation. So let's skip that for now. Okay, so this guy, I want him to like me. So I'm going to select my spice pistol, and then I'm going to shoot him. Bang. And poof. I won him over, and he turned into my color, and over his head it says, tamed by spice. Okay, so I won his heart. Now, when I won his heart, that sent a signal to his parent hive saying, one of your children has been convinced to follow the red path. And that scores a certain number of love points, if you will, for that path from the perspective of this one hive. And I have a bunch of tweakable numbers that determines how many points the spice pistol gives to the critter, and then how many points the critter gives to the hive, and then how many points the hive needs to get before it's fully convinced. And in the beginning, when the hive is not following a player, oh yeah, I got close to it. So now I have another little scripted. fast. Yeah. There's been a lot of military traffic lately. Kind of disturbing. Kind of disturbing. I can only hope there's an air show somewhere. Yeah, I just don't know. Your imagination runs wild. Imagine, yeah, no. We need to... Anyway, so I took over that hive. It was extremely easy, and that's mainly because it wasn't already taken over by anyone. But now it likes me, but it doesn't like me that much. It just likes me better than any other path. So if another player comes along, it'll take more spice than it took me, but he'll eventually win it to his path. So the concept of this event within the game, is that players race to win the hearts of as many hives as possible and to develop those hives to the highest levels as possible within the given amount of time. And in the course of doing that, to earn points. And at the end of the time, the high point winner is declared the winner of that event. And then the event is over. You're free to return to whatever you want to be doing in your sandbox. That's the basic flow of gameplay. I'm walking to this big building over here. And it's kind of big for a potion shop, but it's a potion emporium. It's got every potion in the kingdom, each in its own separate temperature and humidity control. Oh, here, let's pick up some loot crystals. Those little triangles are loot. They're sort of evocative of the power-up pyramids up in grid space. Oh, and that's what Pan's been asking me to collect. I haven't been paying any attention. So another little script. Okay, so I'm kind of in the basement of this building, it looks like. And there's like, stuff. This is a terrible city. What city is this? It's terrible. But we're going to now explore the Doom Cube. Okay, let's see. I'm now inside the Doom Cube. It's kind of like a Rogue. Not really Doom. And I walk along, and this whole thing is designed as a little ASCII art map, right? There's a little array of 16 by 16 characters. And you just put an asterisk where you want this kind of thing, and a hashtag where you want that kind of thing. And then you can do a little level design just from the ASCII art. And then you also have a map key. So if you put an M somewhere for a monster, in the map key you can say M equals, and then a bunch of information about that monster, like, its name and its level and its favorite attacks. And then you also have a Z for a zombie, whatever letter you want to mean, whatever game mechanic is supported. And then you have to make your way through what is basically a maze. And it's just one floor of a maze. And I hope someday I will make these actual walls. Anyway, so if here, the Doom Cube is like 10 stories tall. So if I anti-grav up, it looks like there's no ceiling. But in fact, boom, now I'm on the second story of the Doom Cube. So there's no tree sticking out anymore. So now I go to the third story, and you can see this background is striped with the different stories. It's organized into a few bits each for categories like what planet am I on? What region of the planet am I in? Which city of that region am I in? Which building of that region, if any, am I in? Which floor of that building I'm in? Which row, column, cell of the of the doom level I'm in. And at any given time, every critter knows, he knows which cell he's in. And then once I know which cell he's in, I know the base altitude of the building, and I know the height of a floor, and so I calculate the character's height above the base of the building and then divide that by the height of the floor, and then I know what floor he's on in general, and then I sync him until he hits the actual floor itself. So he may teleport in, kind of hovering in the air, but then he'll sync and stop at the first floor he falls onto. And then he walks around that floor until he finds a hole to fall down through, or steps of some sort to go up with. And it's the usual meme of nobody knows what happened to the old ones. And nobody knows how the machines work, but they seem to work forever. And now it's afternoon. If that's east, then we look west, and we should see the sun setting. There it is. And we're on the dark side of the building, so we just watch the sky. I have to make a way to make the text go away. It's getting dark, the sun's going down, it's getting kind of sunsetty. And the sun disappears behind the mountain, and a nice cloud appears and disappears. The end of our perfect day. So the idea is that the old ones have created this technology, including the gravity dampers, and we don't completely know how it works. You get one free at the beginning of the game to help you scout out really fast and pick your home hive, and then you take over that hive. But in order to really exploit the hive, you have to turn off your damper. So in any case, I've turned them off. I want to turn them back on, but I had to sort of break them to turn them off, because we don't know how they work well enough. And so basically I had to blow a fuse to turn them off. So when I turned them off, I overheated a fuse and it popped, and then they were turned off. So one of the things I can make is a gravity damper fuse. And I happen to have a pack of 10 of them right now. So I will use one. Poof. And what it does is it repairs my gravity dampers, which basically means it turns them back on. I want a fire to start, and then have that burn for a few seconds before the building finally collapses. I want to be able to come back later and have other bombs, like this water bomb. And if something is on fire but it hasn't fallen down yet, you go over it and you drop a water bomb, and you get the same bomb drop thing. Now let's just drop. Oh, I can see him. Oh, let's get out of. Oh, yeah. Let's blow our fuse. Poof. Well, the water bomb makes a magical well that shoots water up out of the ground at that point for a while, a large amount of water for a while. It then starts rolling downhill. And, actually, I have a thing called wet. Yeah, that's cool. So you can watch it roll downhill. This is a world map showing hydration. And if we follow these water droplets, they don't just disappear. They can pool together and form a sort of a lake. Maybe not one that you'd recognize as a lake, but they find little valleys, and they end up spinning around here. This looks like one. So every millisecond that a droplet of water is on a square of terrain, it contributes a little bit to the hydration of that terrain and drains the water a little bit. So the water, as it goes rolling over dirt, it eventually sinks into that dirt and leaves behind, wet dirt. And the right wetness of your dirt affects your crop production. Practically, the towns are growing like a plant. And so long as the environment is beneficial to the growth of the town, then the town will grow at a certain rate. So not all buildings are 10-story buildings, but a 10-story building will start off as a 1-story building as a level 1 hive and work its way up to a 10-story building by some level. I guess I'm thinking that they go from level 0, no city at all, to level 10, where 10 means, a 10-story building shows all 10 stories. But it happens without you, right? You invest spice in various things, and then those things become goodness for the hive and the town, which then grows in your absence, grows or withers. And you run off to a different town and try and get it going. And maybe you go off to an enemy town and try to make it, try to sabotage it in some way. And when I say town, I actually mean hive. And maybe you focus on the advanced hives that have towns, but maybe you also focus on the little out-of-the-way hives because the other players aren't thinking about them. And for every town hive, there's 5 or 10 sleeping hives. The town hives come with a population bonus, and one of your key metrics of success is your population, the total number of critters that are following your path. And you earn a certain amount of spice as a taxation on those critters. I think that's kind of where I am with this right now. It's getting game-like, and the goal is, again, to have completely open-ended exploratory adventure possibilities driven by a Lewis script. If you just want to see what this script looks like, open script window, and we go to source. You call into the engine, or you set a tweak on the engine, and then the engine's behavior is influenced by the values of all those tweaks. You have a big code book that tells you what all the tweaks do, and then you decide which combination of tweaks will give you the game you want to play, and then you have your quest set those tweaks. So the very first functions defined on this star map itself are the set tweaks functions, so that, because this is the first star map that actually used tweaks. There's a bunch of hint loops. So like this will be like in a section where you've just entered the atmosphere, and until you move on to the next place, it's going to loop through these hints, this backstory stuff. Oh, that's what the level map looks like. And of course, you need to have a mono font for it to make sense. And I'm still working on the map key, the definitions of what the individual letters mean. I'm trying to make this a completely standalone little system, so that with just a text editor and about this much text, you can define one level of a dungeon that has completely unique monsters with their own little names and their own special attacks, and it's kind of like a tactics game, actually. This is like really easy coding kind of thing. It's like, I put an A here, and then down here, A is a super big boss, and that's all you have to do. But you can add additional numbers like he's level 10. But I made it so that if you tap on the right side, it zooms in. If you tap on the left side, it zooms out. And if you tap all the way out, then it goes to this fixed view where you're walking around on the map. The first zoom in tap doesn't actually zoom in, it just centers the map on you. So now as I walk, the map moves. Well, maybe not as I walk, but as I fly at high speed, the map moves. But okay, if I zoom in, as I walk, the map moves. Wow, the map really doesn't move very much there. There we go. That makes it seem like it's a big world, but it's actually quite a small world. The whole world, in fact, is 8 kilometers on the side, so 64 square kilometers. It's 8,000 meters, 8,192 meters, which is 24,000 feet, which is 5-ish miles, 4.5-ish miles, which is a long way to walk, not too bad for a vehicle, kind of short for a Cessna, and way too small to F-22 superjets. So because I want to work with all those domains, I definitely want a Jet Fighter 2 kind of experience, which I think the closest I'm going to be able to get to that is to say, there are islands, and the islands are, miles apart. So no individual island is bigger than 8 kilometers across. But there's a whole bunch of ocean between islands, and so there's long distances to fly. And then the ability to put naval assets anywhere in the ocean for mission purposes. So like right now, when I'm playing, the whole thing just wraps around. I never leave this tiny square of terrain. The other thing I could do is I could have a multiverse where, yes, you're just scrolling over the same square map over and over again. You leave with this edge and you appear on that edge. But really you have to think of it as being an infinite grid of copies of that same map. So you really are in a different place. You're at a different XYZ coordinate, but it just looks exactly the same, like in a multiverse. So each copy is a different universe, and that when you cross the boundaries, you're universe hopping. And then, factor that into the game, let the game know your universe number, and maybe odd-numbered universes have such and such, and even-numbered universes have such and such. This seems suspiciously flat. This is a naturally occurring soft round hill. So he just told me I picked up 7 iron dust. It opens up and he talks. Oh, he's actually asking me to do something. He wants me to make an upgrade antenna. Oh, I have to research it first. I have 6 or 7 hives idle. I own 7 hives, and I've only assigned 1 of them to research. So if I push the research button a second time, it now says I have 5 of 7 hives idle. So if I go all the way so that I have 0 idle hives, now look, it fishes right away. Poof. Oh, and look, I learned the recipe. And so now I can make one. Now, if I hit this again, it'll actually say, oh, you want to make 2? Okay. After I finish this one, I'll make another one. So you can actually dial in how many you want. And then it finishes one and starts the next one. So I now have a couple of them in inventory. So I'm now going to make his day and attach it to him. That is finishing the little quest that he's been waiting for me to finish for a long time, and I've been ignoring. This is a random mission generator thing I just started. And the idea is that I've done all of the scripted quests of this section, and now it's willing to offer me random calls. But the idea is if you say yes, then it starts up exactly 1 mission, and it says, oh, you need to do this mission. Go here and capture those and do that. The Starmap author creates template missions like an escort mission or a search and destroy mission or a rescue mission or some kind of mission. And then they're kind of Mad Libby so that the same mission can be given to you over and over again, but this time you're looking for the rarefactored Frichter bomb site, and this time you're looking for the special genome of, eternity critters. Anyway, so same basic mission, but doctored with some word variations here and there. And you accept it or you don't accept it, and I don't accept it. Oh, this is really interesting terrain. What happened here? Oh, I'm on the edge again. I'm always on the edge of the world. Through the cloud layer. Okay, let's go back to air and let's fire anti-gravity. Okay. And these towns are always centered on hives. There's a lot more hives than there are towns, but a sufficiently developed hive will, in fact, spawn a town. And I'm directly over a hive. So here I go. Spice bomb away. So notice that the roofs turned red, and I am the red player. on your own Starmap, when you're creating objects, you can give each one a picture. But if you long press any one of these pictures, it opens the secret catalog of available images. And this is organized into different categories, and for each category there's some number of pages. And I'm on page 1. If I swipe, it'll go to page 2, page 3. If I swipe again, back to page 1, page 2. But I can go left and right. And I'm using it for building textures. Where's the sun at 3:30 p.m.? There it is. Oh, time's not stopped. I like sunset. Let's see if we can get over that town before sunrise. There's a little town up there too. So basically that's the competitive scoring game at the moment. And you just visit these hives and their cities, and you do something for them. And right now the only thing you can do is the thing they like the most, which is just give them huge amounts of spice via spice bombs. And there goes the spice. It goes crashing off in all directions. Everything it touches starts to like us a little more, and eventually the hive itself likes us. And that was pretty easy because it's a hive that wasn't already affiliated with anyone. And now it's our hive. And it's an advanced hive with a city. Or a town. Let's just go grab another hive here. This one's a big town. It's got a... Oh no, it's not. I thought it had a doom cube. Oh, there it is. Oh, it's inside that tree. Bombs away. Now that the hive belongs to me, the fact that it belongs to somebody, anybody who isn't that is now, I'm sorry to say, an enemy. Oh, where they're going uphill. Looks like I overshot. Is it going to be able to get up to the hive? Maybe not. Oh, it did. The MFD button, the multifunctional display button, this is what it looks like in its minimized form. And it's in the upper right. But you tap it once and it opens a page. In this case, it's called the Act display. If I tap it a second time, it brings up a choice. I might want to switch to the map display. I might want to switch to the bio display. I might want to switch to the weather display. For any one of these displays, one of the map displays, I can tap on the right side to zoom in and tap on the left side to zoom out. Normally it's centered on my character, but from that point I can drag to an offset. The weather screen shows clouds and raindrops, so we can see where the traffic clouds are and where the rain is happening, which is, it's got some storm going on over there. In addition to weather, you've got war, and this tells you location of hives, and the color indicates the path that they're following. In addition to that, you can start a so-called war path, which is a fixed duration In this case, it's set to infinite. So the person who starts the warpath gets to set these rules, and they push a start warpath button, and then everybody sees a warpath will be starting in 30 seconds, and they can join it or not. And if they join it, then when the 30 seconds expires, it automatically starts on all the players who joined. And at that point, it resets all of their counters. And then over the course of the warpath, they get incremented as you do things. That gets boiled down here into a single points value. So we see that the red player has 510 points and the blue player has 344 points. Now that's kind of tiny. So what you can do is if you start on the MFD button, press it and drag. So you're dragging it, it will switch to a wider view. So activities are new to version 10. And this is where you get to set the rules. One of the things you can see about the activity, obviously, is this so-called STC, which is Spice Tax Collected. Rules, the duration of the warpath. You can start with a certain number of hives for each player, a certain number of these spice bombs, and then the game will stop instantly the first time somebody hits one of these goals. So if I hit the 10 hive goal first, then I'm the winner and the game is over. But there's other players doing the same activity, and so you're in a race to win the hearts and minds of critters and hives. So RPG, there are some RPG elements. Loot shows you if there are any loot crystals nearby that you should go run and pick up. There's a hydration, so these are spots where the ground is hydrated, where it's been raining enough. That's very hydrated over here. So there are certain things like growing crops that require hydration, so here's a way to see. There's hot, and this just says the sun goes over. That's where the sun is right now. As the sun passes over the planet, it heats up the terrain and the water. That shows you where it's currently hottest. And you're terraforming, so you need to keep the planet in a range that is suitable for your critters. You can shrink them or make them big. Shrink them or make them big by doing a swipe starting in the MFD button in the corner here. And if you just tap it, it brings up the selector. And if you want to close the whole thing, there's the X in the selector. So when you first arrive at a planet, you're way up high. And you're floating because of the gravity dampers. And as long as the gravity dampers are on, you've got this control panel on the right here. And if I click orb, it means I want to go back to orbit. So it's now taking me upwards. It's like an elevator button. If I tap it to air, then it says, oh, he wants to just hover in the air. So it coasts to a stop, and now I'm at 750 meters. Okay, so now I push one more to C, and now I'm going down, 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 down. But I am rate limited, so it stops at not too high of a velocity. And I can again go back to air, but it might hit the ground. Is it going to hit the ground? Is it going to hit the ground? And it is not going to come anywhere near hitting the ground. But even if it did, it wouldn't matter because gravity dampers are sort of like an invulnerability field. So I can hit the ground. Take me to the sea. Bonk. Ground is in the way. And I just bounce off and I'm fine. But I can't touch things without turning my gravity damper off. So I have to turn it off. And then I fall to the ground, and then I hit the ground and decides whether or not I crashed. And that was a very short drop, so it was pretty easy to survive it. If you need to survive a bigger drop, for example, if you turn on your anti-gravity beam and then fire it, it fires you up into the air. Now, if I were to come up to the air about this high, and then let go and come down and hit the ground, it would say I crashed, and I don't want to. So before I hit the ground, I'm going to turn my engines back on. I'm going to slow down. I'm going to try to land lightly. And you can see my shadows coming up. You can see my shadow right there. I landed at -1 meter per second, so that's a good landing. And the first landing on the planet triggers a little quest, which I'm going to just ignore. Right now, the camera is fixed. It sits wherever I pointed. I pointed over here. That's what it's pointed at. If I walk to the right, it goes to the right. If I walk to the left, it goes to the left. I walk forward, it walks forward. I walk back. It's camera relative walking. But if I tap the button, here I toggle it between camera view set by finger drag and camera view locked to heading. So when it's locked to the heading, then as I turn my heading, I don't move, I just turn left, right. And then as I push forward, I walk in the direction I'm facing, and I push backward, I walk. And if I hold it at an angle, I'm simultaneously turning and walking into the direction that I'm instantly facing. And if I drag farther, I turn faster, and some junk and stuff. You can switch camera modes any time you want, and it does affect the way you navigate. Now, what's happened here is this printer has been printing for a while, and it's made all these critters. Now, since it's following my path, I took it over with my spice bomb. Every critter it prints is a blue critter, and these critters all count as my critters, and I now have 775 critters, up from whatever I had before. But now I've turned my gravity damper back on, and I'm going to go, I want to go upwards, so I head towards orbit, but I watch my altitude, and I don't really want to go that far, so I'll just go to switch to air mode. Okay. And now, let's see, I look for a city that doesn't already have a colored roof. One of the major changes in version 10 is that the HUD comes in many flavors and sizes. Even that size. So lots of stuff to explore in the HUD. Also new is the flight compass. And the idea is that you can tap it to be completely gone or very dim, a little brighter, brightest. And because I have another player logged in right now, the red player, I can use the compass to fly, switch myself to heading mode, and then steer towards the red player. And I can see he's 2.7 kilometers away. This shows me my speed in knots. So these buildings with the red roof look that way because he just took over this town. So that's his town. Now, in theory, if I drop enough bombs on this town, it will eventually, because it likes this particular kind of bomb, it will eventually like me more. I've never actually been able to test this before, so let's just give it a go. We'll just do one bomb, because that's how much he dropped, I think. And the bomb hit, and it's launching the spice, and some of the spice is hitting the hive. So we're just going to see if one bomb's enough to do it, and that takes a minute or so. I can edit this. This is something new for me. The thought that it's a scrolling control, but the thing that is scrolling is in fact a tappably interactive surface. But still, that could have been 4 different HUDs. So I liked that I was able to pull together the information for a particular activity. And let's drop a second bomb. That one was not enough. We're standing right by the hive, so we're bombing right by the hive. So I would think the way it works is the hive basically just remembers how much spice or anti-spice. You earn anti-spice by actually physically damaging things that belong to that path. But the hive there we go. It is now blue. It is now blue. We took over a town that used to belong to someone else. These counters, by the way, a lot of them at this point are just things that I think I want to count. Paths are going to care about these kinds of things. What else? Oh, there's research. I think I've probably already covered this, but the idea is that Say I wanted to be able to make myself a paradise claim bomb. Well, I would go here and push the make button, but there is no make button because I do not have the plans for this item. But I do have 5 idle hives. So what I can do is if I tap the research button, one of those hives will start. Tap the research button, one of those hives. Oh, I guess I tapped it twice. 2 of those hives are now no longer idle because they are researching the paradise claim bomb. So there's a progress meter. Anyway, it goes faster the more hives I have researching something. And so once you have the plans, like for the paradise claim bomb, then I can make one. And not everything right now has a plan. Okay. So none of these have plans. Level 1 stuff does not have plans. Level 1 stuff is stuff you can collect. And these are like placeholders for additional resources when I think of them. So I also have bombs that actually, blow things up and set things on fire. And then I have, water bombs that can put fires out. And you're trying to earn the love of the hive. And so if I set your hive on fire, it's not going to like me, but it already didn't like me. And then you get a distress call because it's your hive, your city, your building. And you choose to rescue it. So before it has burned completely down, you hightail it over there, either with your gravity damper or your Cessna or whatever vehicle you're using at the time. And when you get there, you drop a water bomb on it, and the water bomb then floods the area with water, and the water cancels out the fire and hydrates the land. By the way, the fire dehydrates the land. As long as it's burning there, it's drying it all out. And anyway, so the hive is happy when you come with the water bombs. So the hive was mad when I came with the fire bombs, but the hive is happy when you came with the water bombs. So it's a way for you to further solidify the love of the hive for your path. And in the case of a warpath, then after 15 minutes, whoever's done the best job of that is the winner. In the case of the sandbox, you're just fiddling with this planet. Well, the planet's just reacting to your fiddling, so you may be doing things that are causing the temperature of the planet to go up, and so you may want to do different things. And if you don't, it'll just have an effect on the environment, right? There will be fewer critters born if they don't like the heat. And there'll be more critters born if there's lots to eat. And so there's like even when we're not in a warpath activity, I'm still measuring certain things like your total hives and critter population and such. And all of that is stored in theory, although not in practice yet, as instance data. So when I started this game and selecting the star map I wanted to play on, where this star map is Paradise Utopia, it spins up a server session bound to that star map and connects me to that session, and anybody else who comes along and selects that same star map from the list of available star maps will connect to that same session. There's peer-to-peer transfer of assets like star maps and character faces and 3D models and things like that. And there's editors in-game for you to make all the kinds of assets that the game uses. The star map communicates with the game engine via something called a tweak. And I can do it manually by opening the communication panel, the social chat, and starting my chat with a slash. If I say slash and then a tweak number like 111 equals 9, I'm going to set the time of day to 9 o'clock a.m. Boink. So now it's 9 o'clock, which this here is also a clock. That represents the sun going around the planet. And when it gets to the very top, that's noon. And when it gets to the very bottom, that's midnight. So it's sunlight in the top half of the circle and moonlight in the bottom half of the circle. It gets dark at night. And the speed with which one day takes to go around is set by another tweak value. So there's, 1,000 different tweak values. And someday there'll be an online resource that lets you see what all the different tweak values do. sunset. The sun goes down, the sky goes black, stars come out. Okay, well anyway, I think that's really all I wanted to cover.